Hi, Coach Sylvia here. Today's topic is glucose. Glucose is our body's #1 source of fuel for energy. We get glucose from the carbohydrates that we eat, and the carbohydrates gets processed and turned into glucose that enters our bloodstream. As the glucose enters the bloodstream, that will signal the pancreas to release insulin. Insulin will then attach itself to insulin receptors on the surface of our cells. And this will create a reaction inside the cell with the glucose transporters will get to the cell surface and then allow the glucose to enter the cell. And the cell can use then the glucose for energy. If we eat more carbohydrates than you need for energy right now, the body will then store this as glycogen in the liver and can access it at a later time. We have a storage for about, what you would need for a day in our liver. So it's not, you need to replenish daily to be able to keep enough glucose in your storage and have enough glucose for your energy needs throughout the day. We also have a couple of backup systems. So especially since our storage is only for a day. So what if you went a couple of days without being able to get any carbohydrates? We would be in big trouble, but there is a couple of backup systems. So one of them is our bodies can create glucose from amino acids. It's a slower process, and we can only make so much. So it will only be enough to basically fuel your brain to keep you alive. Another system is ketones. So our bodies can create ketones for fuel, and it will use fat, either stored body fat or fat in your diet, to create ketones. Both these systems are slower and would not be like the preferred energy source for, let's say, an athletic competition. So I would choose glucose for anything like that. So a little bit about glucose levels. What is recommended and what's the deal? Do you really need to know? The recommendations are for your average A1C to be 5.7 or below. That will be about 120 in the EAG. So, but when you go for your annual physical and your doctor tests your blood sugar, you go in usually in a fasted state. That's what they tell you. Don't eat for 12 hours before. So you get your fasted blood sugar. Your fasted blood sugar should be, it's recommended to be less than 100 or less than 5.1 A1C. But the fasted blood sugar doesn't really give you the full picture, because so every time we eat carbohydrates, your blood sugar spikes. The more carbohydrates, or the more sugar, or the more processed carbohydrates, the bigger the spike. And this is important. So we have been told for years to eat every 2-3 hours to rev up your metabolism, keep your metabolism going, So we end up eating every 2 to 3 hours, or we have energy drinks, coffee with all the fancy extras, snacks, all these, meal replacement bars, all these highly processed, high sugar, high carbohydrate, processed refined carbohydrates, big spikes in your glucose. And then you add stress. So if you have a stressful job, you have a stressful commute, you have a stressful home life, trying to juggle getting your kids off to the activities and make sure you got to cook dinner, and then you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to walk the dog, and you get all these things going on, and it creates stress. And what stress does, stress releases your stress hormone cortisol. So now cortisol is going off all day long. And what does cortisol do? Because cortisol is our fight or flight, it will release glucose into your blood to make sure that you can escape that danger you're in, right? Another survival system that we have from the beginning of times, when we actually had to escape a danger like a wild animal, you know, trying to meet the deadline at work is not really, doesn't have the need for extra glucose. But still, you get that. The stress will release that glucose into your bloodstream, and your blood sugar will be up here all day, not down here where you fasted blood sugar was. So it's a big difference. So to get your average blood sugar, you need to check it throughout the day. That's why I recommend a meter, a glucose meter, to check it at different times during the day. You can check in the morning, you can check after you eat, and in between meals to see where you are. Does it come down? Does it drop way down? You know, and then you get a more true picture. So what can you do? First of all, lower your stress. That will always be helpful for all of our wellness. But for eating habits, cut out the snacking. No more. Snacks are not good for you. Eat regular meals at set times a day. Introduce some intermittent fasting. Doing extended fasting will tremendously help you reset your glucose levels. Other things, make sure you eat a balanced meal. When you eat carbohydrates, if you have carbohydrates in your meal, make sure you have a good source of fiber in there and also some good protein. So if you're gonna have the donut, have a salad with it, with some chicken. Bad example, I know, but just wanted to paint the picture. So if you have the pasta salad, a pasta dinner, make sure you have the chicken in there and make sure you have a salad with it. That will help, because if you only eat the pasta, you get a big spike. If you combine it with the fiber and the protein, you'll get a smaller spike. The less spikes, the better. You want to keep your glucose as level as possible without spiking and dropping. The reason for this is the more spiking we get of the blood sugar, the higher your risk of heart disease, dementia, Alzheimer's, diabetes, obesity, insulin resistance. You know, all these things can be a result from a constant spiking of the blood sugar, high stress, you know, high carb frequently throughout the day, spiking that blood sugar. So this is things you can do to prevent this. And honestly, you will feel a big difference very quickly. Take advantage of my free consultation to set up a program that will be perfect for you. This is a free 15-minute consultation where we look at your life, your unique situation, and find out the best way for you to reach your wellness goals. So send me a little message below, and I'll see you soon.